How Madden sales explain something no gamer wants to hear. It's possible that good enough is in fact good enough. What's up, guys? We're back with another video. I'm just reading this article here. I thought it was very interesting. I actually read it yesterday. I wanted to get a video out on it yesterday, but excuse me, I'm a little busy. And I know the background. I know it's plain. We're gonna work on it soon. I just moved into the house. Madden just dropped. Been really busy. But today I wanted to talk about this article that I thought was very interesting that Polygon put out yesterday about how Madden sales explain something that no gamer wants to hear, which is mainly us, the hardcore gamers, who don't think that Madden is in the best state and we want it to get better. However, this whole video is not going to be all doom and gloom. There is a silver lining at the end of the video, so stick around. We're going to go over that. If you're new here, hey, look, we do this just about every day, sometimes every other day, always new videos. If you want to stay up to date on the latest Madden tips, news, and just other types of videos, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of these great uploads. So let's talk about this article here. It says, how Madden sales explain something no gamer wants to hear. Is it possible that good enough is in fact good enough? It's not the best Madden, it's not the worst Madden. After more than a dozen years of writing about the football series, I know that it never is. The sales figures of this past week and the review scores of the last month make a compelling competing case, though Madden NFL 21 is the lowest rated game in the series history, and Madden NFL 21 sales are up, way up, over the record-setting figures that the publisher posted last year. Now that's interesting, right? Because last year they broke all kind of sales records and, player engagement records. Madden 20 was a pretty big success in terms of just people that bought the game, people that spent a lot of hours on the game, right? Now, whether you personally like the game or not, Madden 20 had its problems, just like 19, just like 18, just like 17, and we know that 21 has more than enough problems. But it's weird because for the most that the backlash this game has gotten, like the most backlash I've ever seen from a Madden game, the lowest user score in video game history, right? Even the actual review scores from like the publications aren't very good. One of the lower rated Maddens, maybe the lowest rated, I'm not 100% sure on that one, like the official ratings, but still very low, one of the lowest for sure, and yet the sales are way up, which is kind of crazy. How can the sales continue to go up when it seems like the frustration from all of us who play Madden seems to only go up, right? You would think the sales would go down. Now, I'm not going to say that the game's not going to sell. Look, we all know it's the only football game in town. It's going to sell regardless. I've been saying that for years. Nothing we do, there's no amount of boycott that's going to stop the game from selling crazy because it's the only game and people want to play the game. But I do find it interesting that the sales seem to go up. Not only up, but like they said, way up, despite the criticism and the anger and the frustration also going way up. You would think that if anything, the sales would stay stagnant. Maybe they would drop a little bit. They might drop 2% or something not that crazy. But the fact that they're up, what sounds like, from what I've heard, 20%, it's kind of crazy. So let's continue reading and see what they have to say. Rather than this being the case of some trend overcoming another anomaly or vice versa, I think the truth is a story that both combine to tell. Madden NFL 21 is a piecemeal update lacking a centerpiece mode, and it sells like gangbusters because it pleases its fans. Sure, COVID-related buying might play a role. Multiple publishers have reported big sales tailwinds that they attribute, with good reason, to the quarantine lifestyle. But I can't see it as being the whole story when Madden every year is thrashed by conventional wisdom, and when Madden every August for the past 21 years has been the best-selling game of its month. You don't reach that point year after year simply because you're the only marketplace option. Now that's interesting, right? Because obviously with the current state of like where the world is, sales for these types of things are gonna naturally be up because more people are at home, they're not going out and doing the things that they would normally do, so they have more times to just kind of kick back, play games or watch movies or whatever the case may be. So of course that's going to attribute to the sales being up, as we see all these games are having success. But the thing with Madden is it's not just this year that the sales were way up and that all these other years, the game was just kind of meh, right? Madden 20 broke all kind of records well before the quarantine lifestyle kind of kicked in, and every year it seems like Madden is beating their previous year, and even if they're not beating it, they're always one of the hottest selling games of the year in the United States, and they're definitely always dominating the release month that they drop, despite the fact that, as they said, it seems like the criticism and the anger is also at an all-time high every year, and it gets worse. Fans get more and more pissed off at the game every year because of the lack of franchise updates, the lack of online play, the gameplay problems, the bugs, yet the sales always go up. So yes, if there was other options, of course the sales would go down. If there was a 2K, the sales would go down. If there was a Sony game, the sales would go down. However, I think what they're saying is that even if there was another option, Madden would still sell, because even in its what we believe to be its worst state ever, it's still only going up in sales, which is really kind of weird when you think about it. You would think as much as people are saying, I'm tired of Madden, I'm done with it, I'm not buying it, somehow there's still way more people on the other side that are coming in every year and buying it to completely like wash out those people who are not buying it now, which is, I mean, honestly pretty crazy to be honest with you. It says here, this is hardly unique to Madden. EA Sports UFC 4 launched in the same month. It was the second best-selling game of August. UFC 4 reviews, although better than Madden's, also call it an iterative release, more refined and remade over its predecessor, which launched in 2018. And we don't have the sales numbers for NBA 2K21 yet, but that too is taking a critical and community beating. The 60s it's dragging on Metacritic for the same reasons Madden 21 is getting torched are unprecedented, but it won't surprise me to see the MPD group, which tracks sales of games in the US, listing NBA 2K21 first for September. I feel like sports video games have gone past the tipping point where an iterative release can provide its major modes of play with anything more than a good streamlining. Whenever I review one of these games, I find myself disappointed that Franchise and Madden or MyGM and NBA 2K don't have anything to recommend it other than a polishing. But if I'm going to criticize a game for what it isn't, I better have a good example ready of what should be there. I don't. Do you? Fixing trade logic or mid-season player progression might be necessary, but those are iterative improvements. It's possible that developers have simply run out of big new things to do with the core game. Now let me stop you right there, because this is the one part that I disagree with the whole article. Now, in terms of 2K, he's right. This is the crazy thing with all these sports games. They get dragged every year, right? FIFA, constantly getting dragged. But they're made by EA, so people just, say, well, that's EA. All their games get dragged. But NBA 2K every year sports a really low Metacritic user score every single year. And their regular Metacritic scores are, usually on par with Madden. Usually it's like kind of just that safe score that reviewers give the game, and they don't really get too harsh on it. But the user score every year for 2K is always under a 2, sometimes under a 1. On Twitter, their fans, just like Madden fans, are going in anytime 2K makes a tweet or a post. They're saying, fix the game, your game sucks, the game's broken, right? MLB The Show, while I would say is probably the best overall sports game objectively in terms of pleasing its fans and having things to offer, they get a lot of backlash as well. It's just kind of the time we're in where I've said it, I don't think yearly sports games is a good model anymore. I think the more like you do it every few years, you do multiple updates to try to add new things to the game, but you save like the big things for every few years, I think would be a better model, because the one part he said there is true. It's only so much you can do to the game each year. You're putting out a game every year. Hey, Call of Duty gets the same backlash, the same game. Pretty much every game gets this backlash. Games that are not like GTA, they release every like 6-7 years, right? But the one thing I disagree with here is saying, well, I don't know what other things they can do, or what can they add to the game that's not already there. Now, in terms of Madden, that's not a correct statement, because there's a long list of things that used to be in the game, mostly from an offline perspective, that aren't there now. So I disagree with him there. That kind of sounds like an uninformed opinion. But the crazy thing here is, if he's referring to 2K, that makes a lot more sense, because 2K's My League is pretty much has everything you would want. I'm sure their fans want other things added to it as well. We all do. But My League is like the best franchise mode in games. It's got pretty much anything you could really want. Anything you could think of off the top of your head that Madden doesn't have, 2K probably has it. Yet every year, 2K gets completely dragged, right? Now for Madden, I feel like Madden gets more of the bad rap because of the lack of franchise and offline modes, whereas games like 2K, it's more so from a microtransaction gameplay standpoint. With Madden, there's obviously the gameplay aspect of it as well, but I feel like most of the backlash is more so from people that just want a good franchise mode, something like they used to have many years ago. So I do disagree. We kind of know what Madden can put in the game, what EA can put in the game. As far as 2K and some of these other games, that might be a little bit more challenging, because those games in some of their respective modes are further along than Madden is, but even those games get backlash even though they objectively have a deeper game. So it's kind of interesting. Even if Madden got to that point, would they still escape that backlash? I really don't think so, because it just kind of seems like that's the time we live in. It's like games just get trashed no matter what's in them for the most part. There's very few that I can see that, seem to be overwhelmingly loved by the fan bases, at least on the internet. No one, neither developer or player, will admit this, but it makes sense. The console generation that's about to debut will sell like gangbusters at launch and provide audio-visual fidelity that is an incremental improvement over the current systems rather than some leap forward. That's a core feature. Well, similarly, I expect most of what I do in Madden 21 and NBA 2K21 on PlayStation 5 to be the same as it is on PlayStation 4. Both games have been dotting that I for more than a decade. Here's where, inevitably, someone wonders, why can't we have sports video games done MMO style, where there's a base game, then maybe a subscription cost with iterative development served through expansions and regular updates? And here's where, again, I say that if an MMO model made as much money for the league and the players who license the rights to make these games as an annual packaged goods approach does, they would have tried something like this over the past decade. And he's right. Next gen's gonna sell like crazy, especially since people can upgrade their 2K and their Maddens and a lot of their games for free if they purchase them on current gen. People are going to be running out to get those next gen systems because they can just upgrade a lot of the games they have for free already. The games are going to look a little bit better. It's probably not going to be the crazy leap that we saw going from PS1 to PS2 or PS2 to PS3, because we're kind of more closer to that like maxed out point now where, you know, yes, it's going to look better. It's going to be smoother. It's going to be, you know, the frames per second, all that's going to be better, but it's not going to be like something that's just out of this world that we've never seen before at the same time. But it's going to sell crazy, just like the games sell crazy every single year. And like he said, if the MMO style worked, they probably would have done it. This is the thing with these companies. We like to say that they're stupid because they don't give us what we want, but yet they make a ton of money. So there's data that's backing up the decisions they make, the microtransactions they put in the game, the price that they sell the game for, what they do each year to the game. Even considering the backlash they get and knowing what's coming, they still make more money. So clearly, in terms of making money, they know what they're doing. Now, in terms of satisfying the hardcore consumer, I don't think it's that they don't know what they're doing. They probably just don't care because they're making a lot of money. So if they thought the MMO style would be more profitable, they 1,000,000% would have done it already. So for them, that's probably why they keep doing things the way they're doing. Yearly releases, very small updates. Some years to others, you get more updates and you get a better jump forward. That's why I think sports games every other year for the average consumer, not me because I have a YouTube channel. I'm not the average consumer here. But the average consumer, every other year, you're going to get the most bang for your buck with a sports game. But they know they can release it every year and people are going to keep buying it every year. So there's no reason for them to go MMO style because right now they probably don't see a benefit in it. In this console generation, the biggest breakthrough to career mode quality of life was in considering lengthy seasons into their most action-packed games and even individual moments. Madden, MLB The Show, and NBA 2K all brought this aboard years ago. Madden and FIFA gave story mode 2 or 3 good whacks and found it not worth the continued bother. Fans are fine with such things being an on-ramp to the career mode like in NBA 2K or in the background like in MLB The Show. I know, the sports gamer really does not want to hear this, no one in video gaming does, but sports gamers, dependent as they are on the licensing whims of the leagues and the big corporations, especially resent the idea that their tastes are informed appraisal are routinely drowned out by a consumer that finds good enough, well, good enough. Yet sometimes this is exactly what the numbers tell us. These aren't the best games, and these aren't the worst games. They never are. So that's really how they round out the article, and it's true, right? There's a lot of people that just find Madden, NBA 2K, good enough. And when you say that, people are like, no, they're just buying it because it's the only game. But the truth is here, what you have to understand is, we're all hardcore gamers, whether you're online, franchise, it doesn't matter what area of the game you are. If you watch these videos on YouTube, if you're like really invested in these games and the decisions that are made and what is being added or removed, you're hardcore. You want to put a lot of time in and you want to be satisfied. The far majority of gamers are more casual. There's people that pick up Madden that don't play online, they don't play franchise, they just play now with their friends, they play in their dorm room with their buddies and have tournaments, or they play their brother. For those people, they just don't take these games as seriously as we do, and that's okay. That's what I've realized, that's okay. It sucks for us because it makes it less likely that we get the things that we want, because the far majority are just like, I'm happy, Madden's fun. I see it tons of times in my comments. As much as people say they hate the game, I see just as many people saying, I like the game. This is one of the best Maddens ever. What are you talking about, Eric? These problems aren't that serious. I love the game, right? There's a lot of people out there that are just fine with how the game is, and a big reason is because they just don't take it that seriously. Video games might not be that important to them. It's a leisure thing. It's something they play. They might turn it on a couple times a month, so they're not going to notice the problems, or even if they notice them, they don't care enough about them because the game serves their needs. It gives them a few hours of fun with their friends every month or every few weeks, and that's all they care about. And that's a large portion of people that put money towards buying these games every year. So if they're happy, the games continue to sell, and then with with Madden, with it being the only game in town, then even the people that aren't as satisfied still buy the game. And that's the crazy thing. A lot of people that rate the game low on Metacritic or talk about how much they hate the game, a lot of those people still buy the game. So they undercut their own argument because they're saying the game sucks, I'm making a stand, but then they go spend money on the game, contribute money and hours to the metrics that EA or any of these companies, where it could be 2K, that's the metrics they're looking at. Okay, there's a few thousand people online that said this is the worst Madden ever, but there's 1 million people or 2 million or 3 million people that are playing the game, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So what data is stronger? Hey, these people, because you could hate the game. Hating the game doesn't mean you have to stay on it 5 hours a day. If you're on the game 5 hours a day, you know, and you hate it, that's insanity, right? That's like you just being crazy. Most people that pick up the game because it's the only game and they hate it, they stop playing it early. They might not play it for long periods of time because they just can't stomach it. It's just too bad for them. No one's going to sit there and play something that is not giving them any enjoyment, that's only making them mad. They're not going to continue to do that. So when they look at their numbers and they say, man, people are playing the hell out of this game, clearly there's a lot of people that like it. So these people online must just be the minority. We can tune those guys out. However, the silver lining for this year is, at least in terms of Madden, it would seem that the community got their attention, at least in terms of like franchise mode. And the only reason I say this is because of how transparent they've been since the uproar of the fixed Madden franchise and the NFL drop EA. Ever since that, they've been transparent in saying, we're going to commit, here's the timeline, here's what's coming in November, here's what's coming even for Madden 22. That's just something they've never done before. And a lot of people look at that and say it's just words, it doesn't mean anything until there's actual action. True, but the fact that they've never even said those words before, they've never been this transparent. They've already made like 3 posts on the website about franchise mode, of what they plan to do this year, what they plan to do next year, what time you can expect it. We know November there's going to be an update. They never did stuff like that before, saying, hey, this is our timeline and this is what we're adding. They've never done that. So to me, even though it seems like they're doing great in sales and playtime, and that, you know, they could easily ignore that backlash that's going on based on all of the success they're having on the other end, they're still being very transparent about how they plan to fix franchise, which I think is a good thing, because they truthfully probably don't even have to do that because of all the money they're continuing to make. So I think that transparency is important. We'll see how they follow through with it, but that's really my silver lining. This article, for the most part, I thought was spot on. It's just how the average gamer kind of exists now, and it kind of hurts us as the hardcore, but at least for franchise guys, I mean, we don't know what's in terms of gameplay and other modes, but at least for franchise guys, it looks like you guys have been heard. You know, I'm not a franchise guy, you know, so there's a lot of things with gameplay that I want to be fixed and other things like that. But franchise guys seem to have, y'all have been heard, at least. So I think that's a good thing. We'll see where it goes. But I just wanted to talk about this because I felt like it was a really, really good article. Let me know what you think below. As always, I will see you guys next time.